Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm great.
You still sound like you have something in your throat.
Nope, this is Reverend Zach.
And I'm Frank-cis.
And welcome to This Movie Was a Hot Dog, a podcast where me and my brother, Francis, watch a bad movie critically, financially, or otherwise. Then we review it, break it down, and tell you what we think. Right off the bat, I have a thing in my throat that I cannot get out, but we are going to persevere. And this week, we watched 1992's Sidekicks, which is an action movie?
Well, we'll definitely get into that. We both have differing opinions on that, I believe.
Well, I think we have the same opinion, but before we get into that, it stars Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris. This movie was critically panned. Nobody liked it at the time. And I don't think anybody likes it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure there's a big cult following for it.
Well, what I loved, it had a budget of $17.2 million, and it made $17.1 million.
So it's a loss.
It was so close. It was so close to just at least breaking even.
And I think a lot of people saw it just because of the Chuck Norris draw.
I guess. I mean, it was 1992. I don't know when Walker, Texas Ranger was really at like its peak.
I don't know either.
I mean, Jonathan Brandis was as a kid actor, he was a big deal too. He was in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He didn't do very good in this movie, but...
Well, this movie's so strange. But I mean, it's packed with people. Like I said, Jonathan Brandis, who plays the main character, Barry, he was in Stephen King's It. He was in that movie Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah.
He was in The Neverending Story, too. He was the main kid in that. Like, the late 80s, early 90s, Jonathan Brandis was doing a lot of shit. So, like, I don't know where exactly this comes in between that, but he was sort of a big deal at the time. Chuck Norris is in it as well, playing himself. Jonathan Brandis' father is Beau Bridges. Mako is in this. The Japanese... excuse me. Man, I'm making all kinds of sounds today.
Are you okay? Are you sure you're going to be making it through today?
Yeah, I think I'll make it through. Mako's in this. You might know Mako from The Sand Pebble, Conan the Barbarian, Pearl Harbor. He did the voice of Aku in Samurai Jack. Joe Piscopo is in this as the bad guy.
And he's really strange.
Danica McKellar is the love interest who plays Winnie from The Wonder Years. Julia Nixon, who was in the other week's movie of Double Dragons. She was their adoptive mother.
Yeah, and she's in this one too.
And Garrett Graham is in this movie as one of the teachers. Garrett Graham played the dad in Terror Vision, who was trying to have sex with the blonde lady who played the wife of the owner of Buster Burger in Hamburger the Motion Picture, which means I get to play the song again.
America, you're getting burger hungry, hungry for the burger that makes you full. You're chomping for the taste of a Buster Burger, our famous Buster Burger that's full of hope. Thick, rich shakes, crispy French fries, our double big Buster like bullets satisfies. Our people are friendly, our stores are clean too, and nothing but home is waiting for you.
I love that
And it
song.
all comes full circle here on This Movie Was a Hot Dog.
Well, so this movie, I actually remember
Can you tell me who directed this again?
I actually don't have that in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it was. Oh yes, Aaron Norris directed it. One of my favorites.
So you had to stop what I was doing to ask me what the director was, so you could make the same joke you always make.
I had to get my tagline in, buddy.
That's your tagline?
Yep.
All right. Anyway, he actually, I do know this. Chuck Norris actually did this as a favor to his brother.
Okay, let's just get this part.
That's why he's in it. He's doing this as a favor.
Oh,
so
boy.
now that we got all that out of the way, let's actually give a brief synopsis of this movie, because it's a weird film. So, Francis, please describe to me, in the movie's words, like, what does this movie think it's about?
Well, it's kind of about a kid who's an out-of-shape, asthmatic kid who's down on his luck, kind of a nerd at school. He has some daydreaming problems about always being with Chuck Norris in all his movies and his adventures and stuff like that. And he's being made fun of everyone. He just can't get up. He wants to learn karate. And it's a interesting story and cool story about he finds a teacher that is the uncle of one of his teachers, helps him become, a better martial artist and overall good person. He participates in a tournament, gets to meet Chuck Norris, and comes out on top.
I think this movie is about a mentally disturbed teenage boy who is suffering from, like, the initial symptoms of some sort of schizophrenia, in which he has vivid hallucinations of violence, sadomasochistic behavior, and has an unhealthy obsession with Chuck Norris, likely brought on by the arrival of homoerotic feelings during puberty, which this boy is trying to suppress due to it being the early 90s. And this is all complicated by the fact that he grows up in a broken home, and ultimately this is a morality play about a boy coming to terms with his own sexuality during the early Clinton years, which leads to unhealthy behavior.
So, and that's an interesting way to put it.
Because, like, this movie is just a soundtrack away from being a horror film.
It is a little creepy. It's creepy at some point.
It's super creepy because this kid is having these violent fantasies.
And he's just and he's not like at home just laying in bed.
Well, sometimes he is.
Yeah, but sometimes he's just in school, like, talking to nobody.
Oh, and sometimes his fantasies start to invade reality, where, like, the people around him start to become violent things trying to hurt him. Like, if you take the karate tournament out of the end of this film and replace it with a school shooting, it makes perfect sense. Like, you could almost make this about, like, like I said, a morality play about, like, the violence of films and how it affects youth. It's scary. It's really a weird movie.
Yeah, and I didn't think I did read the synopsis before I watched the movie, just the basic. And I just wasn't prepared for the hallucinations or the daydreams, quote unquote.
Well, like I said, I had seen this movie. This was one of those movies that was, I don't know, on TNT a lot or something, and I'd always caught snippets of it, but never saw the whole film. There's a couple scenes that, like, I don't know, for some, when you see a movie when you're a kid and you don't know what it's called, and as you're an adult, you try to, like, explain it to somebody. You're like, no, it's a movie about this, and Chuck Norris is like a fantasy dream man, and, like, there's a little kid who's, like, seeing him as an imaginary friend, and somebody's like, what are you talking about?
Right, because yeah. And this one, and everyone I talked to, like, they told them I was going to watch this movie this week, and they were like, oh, yeah, Sidekick, and I'm like, I haven't seen this. I don't know how I missed it.
Well, we might as well start.
All right.
So we open in an ancient Japanese temple where a samurai-type person is walking through the fog, and he goes into a temple. And there is Julia Nixon from Double Dragons tied up and is about to be killed by a bunch of ninjas. And then the main black ninja, who's wearing, like, a kabuki mask, is about to kill her. And then a white ninja shows up. And he fights all these other ninjas who are dressed in black. Then another white ninja shows up. And they fight the ninjas off, and then they take their masks off. The white ninjas do.
Right.
And it's Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris. And you're like, what's this movie about?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I thought it was like a karate thing, like in
or about just
modern time.
Or like a kid, almost like a Karate Kid type movie.
Yes, that's originally what I thought the movie was going to be like.
And then we find out that Jonathan Brandis is actually this kid named Barry, who is currently in a high school class, and he is having a daydream. He's daydreaming that he is having an adventure with Chuck Norris and Julia Nixon, who is tied up in his daydream, who he also has an unhealthy obsession with, is his history teacher?
I think it's history, yeah.
So, and everybody starts laughing at him because he's basically staring out into nothing going, I love you, Chuck Norris, out loud. And everybody's like, what a weirdo.
And I would have said the same thing.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, bullying is obviously bad and everything, but man, this kid does not make it easy on himself where he's literally talking to people who are not there.
Yeah, at least wait to have your daydreams till you're, home. No,
So his teacher asks him to stay after school and accuses him of having these daydreams, but they're actually more like vivid waking nightmares.
Well, and here's my thing. I don't know. How does she get so involved, though? It's almost like, wouldn't they just be like, go see the social worker,
Yeah, she's not just like, you're failing my class. She is invested in him as like a person.
Yeah, exactly.
No other student in this class is getting this level of not just attention in school, like personal attention. Like, she's at his house all the time.
Yeah, and, and nowadays, probably back then, too, that would definitely be some sort of, big problem with the school's administration, I would think.
So she's like, I need to have a meeting with your dad. So dad shows up. Dad's played by Beau Bridges.
Single dad.
And Julia Nixon is basically talking about his increasingly disturbing behavior. And this is when we find out he's got basically a rap sheet that's building a crazy person. He lives with a single parent. He's not very athletic. He has an overactive imagination. He's misunderstood. Oh, yeah, and he has an unhealthy obsession with Chuck Norris, which is bordering on psychosis.
Well, and here's the thing, too. At no point in anywhere in this do they go, he needs to go talk to the psychiatrist.
Or anybody.
Not even
they're just like,
we'll deal with it.
He needs like a hobby.
Yeah, that's all he needs.
Yeah, it's like, today your son in class had a vivid hallucination involving me in which he personally killed 20 people. Like, get him out of this school. So, Beau Bridges decides, oh, you want to learn karate? Great, I'll take you to a karate class. So we cut to this karate studio run by Joe Piscopo, of all people, who is like just yelling at these kids. Like he is like in all the Karate Kid movies, he is one of those karate instructors who his personality trait is he's a asshole. And
yeah, he acts like a drill instructor.
Dude, you run a Tiger Schulman's. Knock it down a notch.
Tiger Schulman's.
You run a Tiger Schulman's in a mall. Take it easy.
Well, no, it's called, what is it, Stone Dojo?
Whatever. So Joe Piscopo briefly emasculates Beau Bridges because he's an asshole, and then proceeds to just be a jerk to Barry and to Beau Bridges, and just to like the concept of anybody that isn't him.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, we're gonna pay you to come be at your dojo.
Right, could you not be such a fucking asshole right now? And Barry brings up Chuck Norris, and Joe Piscopo takes this personally for some reason.
He's like, I could beat Chuck Norris with one hand tied behind my back.
So in this weird universe, Chuck Norris exists. Chuck Norris plays himself. All of Chuck Norris movies and TV shows exist. But also Chuck Norris and Joe Piscopo are like karate rivals. Or whatever.
And everyone seems to like adore Chuck Norris beyond belief.
Well, it's like they go like, hey, Joe Piscopo, you got a lot of trophies here. That's a pretty big deal. It's like, well, I don't like to toot my own horn, but yeah.
But I do.
And then he's like, what about Chuck Norris? He's like, Chuck Norris? You mean the guy who is well known for karate and being in all of these karate circles and is also a movie star and a TV star, and I just run a Tiger Schulman's?
I love how you keep saying that.
Because that's what it is! So, I guess he doesn't join the karate class, even though they like act like they're gonna. They're never like, how dare you? We're not going to this class.
They just walk out.
Yeah, they just leave. So
and he never stops talking.
No,
he just all right.
So back at home, Barry is watching a Chuck Norris movie on TV, and he has another hallucination. And this one's set in Vietnam. Julia Nixon is again captured and tied up. She is held hostage by the bad guy in this one is Joe Piscopo, doing the most racist yellow face since Mickey Rooney was in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
That's a really good line.
That's what it is. He's got like a Fu Manchu, and his eyes are taped back, so they're slit. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna blow you up." It's like, holy shit, dude, you cannot do this.
Well, in '92 you couldn't.
I guess it's like, Chinese people are still funny.
Boy.
So in this hallucination, Chuck Norris and Barry both kill about 20 people each. They don't even do any karate this time.
They just shoot them.
They just shoot guns at people until they're dead. And you just cut back to Barry in the living room, just lost in this vision, like, yeah, murdering people. It's like, oh, and this is supposed to be an uplifting story about an underdog child, huh?
And I guess this is a kid's movie, right?
Yeah, kids movie, right? This seems to be about a crazy person. So a fucking dad walks in and he's just like, "You having a hallucination?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, go to bed."
I don't know how to deal with it. I'm a single father.
It's like, yeah, I'm a single father. I can't possibly relate to you, I guess, on any level, because that would require me to try.
Yeah, he's one of the stereotypical dads in movies like, "I am so involved in my work."
Yeah, it's like, I'm very busy doing my business.
They never elaborate.
So back at school, we're walking down the hallway. Julia Nixon talks to Garrett Graham. Theme song.
America, you're getting burger hungry. Hungry for the burger that makes you full. You're chomping for the taste of a Buster Burger. Our famous Buster Burger that's full of bull.
Who is a teacher? He works with Julia Nixon. He's basically hitting on her, and all Garrett Graham does is just play weird guys.
Yeah, he's definitely strange.
And he's like, "Hey, would you like to go to dinner afterwards?" And Julia Nixon's like, "No, I have to help a kid after school." I didn't know I had that Julia Nixon impression in me. And Garrett Graham's like, "Who, that Barry kid? What a hopeless retard. Don't even bother."
Does he say retard?
No, he doesn't say retard. He does say he's hopeless, though.
Okay.
He's like, "That kid is hopeless. Don't even bother." I'm like, way to just write off a kid. Like,
it's good to see the education.
Yeah, not even gonna try. He's hopeless. And then immediately from that, where he's like, "This kid is hopeless," we cut to Barry having another crippling hallucination, where Julia Nixon is a ninja trying to kill him. Like, he's sitting at his desk, and a ninja is like swirling a sword, and he just goes, "Ah!" and he puts his hands up in defense, and it turns out it's Julia Nixon. And I'm like, these hallucinations are getting worse.
Yeah.
Now they're bleeding into reality.
Social worker needs to come in at this point.
Dad needs to go, "We have a problem here."
Maybe medication.
Oh, definitely medication. At the very least, just talk to somebody.
Anyone.
Anybody. It doesn't even matter who.
Dad, school counselor, grandma.
So Julia
Go ahead.
Mom, where's Mom? Get Mom on the phone and say, "Hey, I know we're divorced and I ended up with a kid somehow, but your son's having a big problem."
Okay, go ahead.
So Julia Nixon tells Barry that her uncle or brother or whatever is coming from unnamed Asian country to America to work in her family's non-denominational Asian restaurant, and might be able to teach Barry karate.
Did he ever say to her that he wanted to do karate?
I don't know. I guess that kind of came from the Chuck Norris obsession.
Okay.
Because they're like, well, if you like Chuck Norris, maybe if you start doing this thing that Chuck Norris does, you will express that manic obsession in a healthier way. At least I would hope that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
So the uncle is Mako, and he's coming to America.
Liked his character, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Mako is a great actor.
Yes.
Everything Mako's in is great. So they go to meet him at the restaurant, and Mako's like, yes, I'll help you karate because I can karate as well. And he goes, okay, you're going to start walking to school. That's the first thing you got to do.
Get in shape, yeah.
Yeah, get in shape. So then, for what appears to be no reason whatsoever, a bunch of morbidly obese drunk bikers invade the restaurant to be bad guys?
This is the scene where they have to show that the teacher knows what he's doing.
Right, they got to show that Mako knows karate so that Barry can be like, wow, I guess I will listen to this guy. But it's not a robbery. It's not like a rival Chinese restaurant or whatever. I don't know. It's just guys who were just being
drunk, that they're like, we all happen to be 350 pounds. I'm drinking out of the bottle. Hey, a Chinese guy, ching chang, ching chong, like being very disrespectful. And then Mako just beats the crap out of all of them. Using like a drunken master routine.
Yeah, and they all leave, and then Barry's like, well, I guess I'll follow you. You seemed like you knew what you were doing back there.
Just beat all their asses.
So on his first day of walking to school, he
has another hallucination.
Yeah, he rolls around in the leaves while he thinks like the Viet Cong are attacking him. And then he has a moment where he's like, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be walking to school. Like, he's not even aware of where he is when he like goes into these blackouts.
Oh, my God.
So at school, he gets assaulted by like 20 bullies.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I found it very interesting because they do show that the main bully is bullying Barry. So is literally doing it to compensate for his own lack of intellect. They show him being in a class and being very stupid,
right.
and they're just taking it out on Barry.
Right.
I just was like, they don't usually do that in movies where they show
why they're being bullies. You know?
Yeah, sort of that the bully is doing this out of his own weakness and he's overcompensating for his intellect by just picking on a smaller person. Not that makes it any better.
No,
it was just, you don't really see that often.
That is true. Oh, wow, that's awesome, dude. I didn't. I mean, I saw it, but I didn't make the connection, you know.
So,
okay.
Karate is not going well because Barry's asthma is a serious medical condition and not some sort of mental block, as this movie would lead you to believe.
And they're going to fix that with just concentration and some weird salves.
Yeah, I mean, they keep going, like, throughout the movie, they're just like, you need to just ignore that you have asthma and, like, drink this tea.
Yeah.
This kid has an inhaler because he can't breathe.
And the inhaler's, like, the size of, like, my arm.
I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be, like a super-duper strength inhaler, or was that how big inhalers were back then? Because it's, like, the size of a shoe.
Some people had them like that. It would let you get more.
Okay.
Mist. Yeah, it's just a wider, like, you know, cone. Yeah.
But regardless.
Yeah, it's a large thing.
They write off his asthma as if, like...
Yeah, you're fine.
He's going through, you know, when you go through that asthma phase when you're a teen.
Yeah, just brush that off.
It's so
I want
terrible.
you to start running to school next week. That's what they tell him.
Yeah, next week, not even, like, next month.
Yeah, you're running next week. He's like, it's 3 miles.
Meanwhile, in the next scene... He's at gym class, and he's not even allowed to participate in most of it because of his asthma.
Right.
He has a doctor's note saying he can't do physical activity. Mako's like, you better start running. So, at gym class, where he is not participating, he has a hallucination again about him and Chuck Norris, this time being cowboys, in an old-timey saloon. Joe Piscopo is an outlaw, and Julia Nixon is dressed up like a prostitute. Like, I honestly don't know what's worse. The fact that he clearly has this fatherly homoerotic obsession with Chuck Norris, this very hetero yet sadomasochistic obsession with Julia Nixon, or that all of his fantasies involve him shooting Joe Piscopo to death. He wants to kill this man.
I enjoyed this hallucination among all the others.
Oh, because they walk in and it's an old-timey saloon and walk up to the bartender. He's like, what you gonna have, Chuck Norris? And a little blonde kid.
Milk.
And he's like, I'll have a milk. And everybody goes, milk? What a baby. Chuck Norris is like, I'll have a milk too.
He said, make mine milk too.
And then Barry just slaps Joe Piscopo for like a solid minute. Like, he walks up, they draw their guns, he draws his quicker, and then he just slaps Joe Piscopo a bunch. And then he snaps out of it because his gym teacher is within an inch of his face screaming at him, because that is the only way you can get this child to pay attention to you, is just to yell in his face. The teacher is calling him a lady, which I didn't think was necessary.
It seems a bit much. I mean, he didn't...
Especially when it's like, you got the doctors. No, you know the kid has asthma.
He's one of them try-hard gym teachers.
He didn't choose to have asthma. He has it.
I'm sorry, I love this whole, like, all the gym class, any, like, school movies, they always have, like, the gym teacher be this, like, over the top. I'm like, I never had a gym teacher that was like that.
Not that over the top. I did have a jerk gym teacher.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
the jerk gym teacher is like, you're going to climb the rope.
Right.
Which I don't even think they do anymore. And so Barry gets up there, and he actually starts climbing it. And then at one point, he just, like, he gets about 1.5 feet off the ground. He's like, nah, give up. And then he's just hanging there. And then this is the first time that Chuck Norris appears in reality as a flesh and blood person, not in some weird flashback where they're on an adventure. He is right next to Barry on the other rope.
So it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. Speaking to him. And Barry starts speaking to Chuck Norris.
And all these
to
people,
the point,
are like, what is going on?
Yeah, everybody's like, who is he talking to? Why is he talking to himself? Does anybody else see that this kid is having a mental breakdown right now?
Anyone want to call a specialist? Nope, just let him go.
And this is the thing that's weird, that is very polarizing about this, because in this scene, Chuck Norris is a very positive person. He's giving Barry confidence that is basically the representation and a visual representation of his inner strength, his inner knowledge, and his inner confidence that Barry just has to embrace to reach his full potential. That is what Chuck Norris is in this scene.
Right.
But it is... So, again, he is seeing somebody who's not there. People get locked up for this. And this movie is playing that off like, you hear voices in your head? You should do what they say.
That's how you get ahead in life.
Right. If you see a person that no one else can see and he's telling you to do something,
go for it.
See what he tells you to do. See where that goes.
Oh, my God.
And this is also the scene that as a child I remembered.
Really?
So, like, any time I was trying to describe this movie to somebody, I'd be like, it's like Chuck Norris is on a rope and he's like imaginary and he's talking to a kid and everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I swear it's real.
I only remember one scene from, when seeing it as a kid.
What's your scene? Have we gotten to it
No,
yet?
it's at the end. I'll say it when we get to it.
Okay. So he climbs the rope and he impresses everybody because everyone's like, holy shit, he did it.
And they actually clap.
They clap. So after climbing the rope, he has newfound confidence. This is where you think, like, okay, the movie is like building towards these weird visions, giving him inner confidence, and then at the end, he's not going to need these visions anymore, right? So he has this new confidence, he's rolling high, and he's like, I'm going to ask Winnie from Wonder Years if she wants to go out with me. And she basically turns him down because she's like, I just pay attention to you because you seem like you're ill and I'm worried about you. And he takes that poorly, justifiably.
Anyone would,
And he runs home crying, where he immediately sits down to escape into this fantasy. So all of the confidence he built up, he's like, fuck it, I need to escape to my weird psychosis that I have. In this one, the gym teacher is an evil Nazi who is wrapping chains around him and torturing him. And it turns out that the chains being wrapped around him is he's actually having like a panicky asthma attack, and he's at the hospital for it.
Right.
And I guess this one is supposed to be a panic attack because the doctor says like, his lungs are fine. This isn't an asthma thing. But does that mean he doesn't have asthma? Does that mean he never had it?
Well, they don't really explain that.
This is where Mako goes to visit him in the hospital. He's not a family member, so I don't know why he's allowed to be in there by himself with the lights off, pulls down Barry's shirt and then starts rubbing his chest. And you're like, ooh, this is weird.
Did he give him? Is that what he's putting that salve on him too?
Yeah, he's like, this is like an old Asian-y salve I made in the restaurant. I'm just gonna rub it all over
And
you.
he's like, why is it burning? Why is it burning? Don't worry about that.
Yeah, he's like, don't tell the doctor. This will be our little secret. This will be between you and me. It's like, you're rubbing my chest really hard. He's like, shh, you're having a dream. This is another one of your dreams.
Run another mile to school.
Well, I need to get you nice and lean. I like them nice and...
Oh, man. This is...
What was that? Nothing. Be quiet.
We work on quiet today.
This is quiet time. This is Mako time.
Oh, my gosh. This movie's weird.
So after... Well, none of that was actually said.
Yeah, but it could be implied.
Because it's like... like I said, all you have to do to a lot of these scenes, including that one, because the way this is played, it's like Mako is like almost like a pseudo father figure, even though his real dad is right out the door doing fucking nothing.
He has no clue, by the way.
Mako is like a pseudo father figure. Like, he's like, all right, you just got to relax. Clearly, you don't have asthma. Just chill out, calm down. I'm trying to help you. But all you got to do is change the music, and this is like a creepy ass scene about a man hitting on a boy. And that's all it would take. So, after he gets out of the hospital, he starts participating in gym. He's doing better. He's drinking some gross tea that Mako gives him.
Which is just a placebo.
Right. There's a training montage. Yeah, where he's running down he's finally running and stuff. Then there's another training montage, but this one involves nunchucks, where Barry hits himself in the head and the nuts and stuff. And
Yeah, the comedy section.
Yeah. Julia Nixon and Beau Bridges do like Tai Chi together, and they start becoming like a romantically entangled, which is... I was just... As soon as they were like, they did that moment where they like looked in each other's eyes for the first time, I was like, ugh, gross.
Why?
I don't know. Just Beau Bridges.
No.
Because Beau Bridges plays like such an emasculated schlub in this.
Yeah.
It just came off as strange. So Barry finally confides in Mako that he is having these vivid waking nightmares, and Mako tells him that he needs to control these dreams and harness that inner power or whatever.
And learn to control where you have them and to stop them if you need to and all that.
Right, exactly. Which is, something anybody should have told him. Finally, he's told an hour into this that, like, yeah, you should sort of put a cap on this.
He's finally got to talk to an adult.
I guess.
I'm just...
So he gets in a fight with the bully at gym class, and he actually holds his own.
Yeah.
It's broken up by the gym teacher who was yelling at him earlier before like a winner can be established, and the teacher does nothing to punish either of them.
He's just like,
good.
They're
punching each other in the face, and he does look at Barry and he's like, "Hey, good job, kid. You're not quite the pussy that you were a week and a half ago. What are you running to school now?"
Well, back then it was just, hey, you got to get what you got to do.
And so Barry's confidence is getting built up. He's doing pull-ups, and while he's doing pull-ups, he has another hallucination where he and Chuck Norris both have the same haircut. This is so creepy because Jonathan Brandis has like a
swept back, right?
Yeah, and then he does a pull-up, and on one of the ups, he suddenly has a bleach blonde mullet, and it looks It's so... I don't know why.
It bothered you?
Like, yeah, I'm staring at it, and I'm like, this doesn't seem real. This is upsetting
At
me.
this point, I was like, what's going... I was just like, I don't even know anymore.
Well, he's got this bleach blonde mullet. He sits up. Chuck Norris is there. They're both wearing the same outfit. They both have the same haircut. And Chuck Norris goes, "Here, kid, here's a shotgun." Like, great, we're going to fantasize about murdering again. I thought we were getting better at this.
It's okay to murder as long as you can control it.
So in this one, Joe Piscopo is like a Batman villain who is shipping drugs through piñatas with magic paint, and he kidnaps Julia Nixon because that's a staple of these. They shoot people with guns. He blows up Joe Piscopo with a rocket launcher. They go to rescue Julia Nixon. She's in a chair. He spins the chair around, and now it's switched from Julia Nixon to Winnie from the Wonder Years, which is progress, I guess. At least his violent fantasies are becoming age appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to think about that stuff as long as they're your age.
I guess. So the bully at school is like, I challenge you to a karate off.
Where I love it, I'm like waiting for them to actually fight each other, and that never happens anyways. But
oh yeah, like he's like, you think you're so hot shit now because you're doing pull-ups in your spare time? Here's a karate tournament, and you think it's gonna be like Karate Kid, where the showdown is this nameless bully and Barry, and they never fight.
No,
they never actually have a showdown.
More on that later.
Yeah, we're getting there. So Mako, he's talking to Mako, and he's like, I don't think I should do this. I don't think I'm ready. And Mako's like, yeah, I agree. I don't think you're ready, and I don't think it's possible, and there's no way you'll be able to do this. And he goes, there's a saying where I come from that if you can accomplish your dreams, a tortoise will dance, which is basically like saying, when you do this, pigs will fly.
Right, exactly.
Which is like, again, the speech is played off as if Mako is saying, you can do this, try, but that's not what he's saying.
No, he says you just can't do it.
He's like, you can't do it, and when you do it, a tortoise will dance. But we all go like, yeah, I guess I will enter the tournament. We're like, that's not what we just said, though.
Yeah, and Mako's just like, probably in the back of his mind, well, that's not really what I wanted you to say, but okay.
All right, I guess I'm not not your dad, so. So there's another training montage, which, I mean, I guess he's getting ready. And they go to this karate competition. They get there and find out that it is actually a team competition, and they need a team of 4 because I guess no one actually read the flyer that they were at. Like, they're walking around with this flyer. They go in, they're like, here's the flyer. We would like to enter this competition. And he's like, yeah, it's like a team thing. It says so right here. It's like team competition. Did you guys read this?
Yeah, he can't enter by himself.
No, seriously, it means nobody read the damn
Oh,
thing.
my God. And they've had this for like 2 months or whatever.
So they go, well, Julia Nixon's like, well, I guess I can enter because I'm Asian. That must mean I know karate.
Well, she knows that dance thing or whatever it is.
Tai Chi?
Yeah.
That dance thing?
Well, I didn't know what it was called.
I said it twice already.
I lost control. I lost concentration.
And then Mako's like, I'll enter too. And they're like, they don't want to tell Barry for some reason that it's a team competition and he can't enter yet. Because I guess they're worried that he'll just lose it.
He might have another episode, so we're just not going to tell anyone.
Well, we just got to figure out how to solve this problem behind his back, because if he finds out he can't enter, it might kill him.
And he might kill others.
And he might, this might be the thing that pushes him over the edge. So Julia and Mako happen to just see Chuck Norris for some reason at this, I don't know, high school karate competition.
He was in town. Who knows?
Yeah, he's just there, and Julia Nixon is like, why don't we just ask him? Like, yeah. That's all she says. She's not like, well, maybe we can, relate to his personal experiences and helping this boy. He's like, I'm just going to go ask him. And she walks up, and he's like, hi, I'm Chuck Norris. She's like, hi, I'm Julia Nixon. Are you free?
Doing anything today?
Chuck Norris and Barry finally meet. Barry is sitting watching the competition. He hears a voice over his shoulder. He turns around, and Chuck Norris is there. And this kid basically comes in his pants.
Yeah. He does.
But here's the other thing. He's so shocked, and they're like, hey, Barry, I heard you needed some help. Why don't we win this competition together? He's like, because obviously his dreams are coming true. But after what we have been seeing for this entire movie, how can we be sure that this is even really happening?
What?
How do we know that Barry finally didn't actually lose it, and that he is in a coma after hitting himself in the head with those nunchucks, and this is just a fantasy?
I actually thought this might be true at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, him and Chuck Norris Mako, and Julia Nixon are all going to compete in this karate tournament. There is no way for Barry to know whether or not this is reality. We're just accepting that
he could be completely gone at this point.
Well, so there's a bunch of karate demonstrations. For some reason, there's a lot of karate B-roll at this competition. There's a lot of just like a whole minute of like somebody we don't know just doing spin kicks,
Yep.
basically just going like, hey, isn't karate cool?
To get the kids out doing it.
Julia Nixon goes up, does her Tai Chi routine. I guess she does well. We never see the scoring system.
Well, she comes in second in that event.
And then it's Mako's turn. Mako, in between every section, is running to the restaurant to run it, which is actually pretty funny. So he shows up, Mako shows up in his, like, dirty jeans and an apron, and somebody's like, you don't have a karate gi. And he's like, all I'm doing is breaking bricks.
Yeah, I don't really need one.
And he walks up and he breaks some bricks, and that happens. And then Barry does a nunchuck demonstration, where in this nunchuck demonstration, he has a fantasy where he is the white ninja from the beginning using nunchucks. What the fuck, kid? You are literally living your dream right now. Your dumb fantasies have become a goddamn reality.
He's gone.
He's with Chuck Norris. He's really doing it.
He doesn't need it.
And he doesn't, but he still escapes to his fantasy world. So not even actually living it can satisfy this kid.
Maybe, he's just gone.
I guess, like, at the end of this movie, it should pan out of a hospital bed and he's just being fed through a tube. So...
That'd be a wonderful ending.
So Chuck Norris and Joe Piscopo fight because we've been building to that question mark.
And it's a super one-sided fight.
And it's also very Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Because Joe Piscopo is basically a cartoon character.
Just bad sounds, and he's like hitting his face like, oh, wow, that hurt. So basically, he gets he gets kicked and he flips over 20 times or something like that.
Yeah, like in a cartoon, and his face is like, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
And he lands it, smack his face, and this is the part I remember watching as a kid with his face on the mat like that. And that's all I remember is him going like, oh, wow, that's a herder, or whatever he said.
That's a herder.
Yeah, well, me and my sayings, I just kind of make them up sometimes.
Those sayings that you have that no one else says, stub your toe at work, wowie, that's a herder.
Hey, I say that.
Hey, I say that. What a defense. Hey, I say that.
Gave him what for? He shot him.
Yeah, that's right. Chuck Norris really gave him what for.
He shot him.
So, for the final thing, Barry and his bully are like, apparently Chuck Norris's team and Joe Piscopo's team are tied for points, whatever the point
We have
system
no
is.
clue. They're like 36 milliboings or whatever. Just
yep, that's what it is. They're getting rated in milliboings.
just made it up.
If you move up to nationals, you get rated in teraboings.
Anyways, go ahead.
So Barry and his bully have to break bricks, and whoever can break more bricks wins. They don't even fight.
Nope.
They have been fighting with fists several times in this movie, and now this is the one where it is a sanctioned fight. They can actually beat the shit out of each other.
Nope.
And that's what you want to see.
Yep.
A la Karate Kid. You want to see Barry punch this kid's nose in. And they're like, no, there's going to be a point system that the audience is not privy to.
Yep.
They're going to be judged on it based on the amount of bricks. And then I guess if they tie and they can't break any bricks, then they're just equals and then the competition's over. So the bully goes up and he's like, I'm going to break 13 bricks. And he doesn't. And Joe Piscopo loses his goddamn mind. Yeah,
he's like slapped across the head. His student,
And so Barry's like, I got to break 13 bricks to win. So Mako gives Barry a pep talk and then walks Barry to this stack of brick, pulls out a bottle of lighter fluid, sprays lighter fluid all over these bricks, then lights them on fire. He should be disqualified for lighting part of the stage on fire. Especially when he actually breaks them and flaming pieces of brick get scattered all over this building. When he pulls out this bottle of lighter fluid, somebody should have been like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? And then when he lights him on fire, the audience is just like, that's cool.
Yeah, no judge is like, I don't think this is in the rule book. I don't think.
Not only is this in the rule book, if you are in any place and somebody sprays lighter fluid on anything and then lights it on fire, that guy is arrested.
It's called arson.
Nobody tries to stop him. He breaks all these flaming bricks and he wins. Great, we win. Barry, you win. Chuck Norris helped you. You got to live your fantasy,
now,
right?
It would have been cool. It would have been cool if we could have just said that, but then we have another scene afterwards, correct?
Correct. So afterwards, Barry and Chuck Norris are sitting outside on a bench, and they're having a one-on-one, where they talk about achieving your dreams if you work towards them and knowing your inner strength, and you always had the confidence in you, Barry, blah, blah, blah. It's the morality tale. Barry leaves because he sees his dad waving him. He says, thanks, Chuck Norris. I appreciate you helping me. He gets up. He walks 2 steps. He turns around, and Chuck Norris has disappeared. Was it all? So it was all in his head.
That's what they're saying.
Was there even a karate tournament?
Or did they just go here for, like, the hangout thing?
Or are they, like, at a doctor, and they're like... Yeah. And he's just, like, he realizes that they're locking him up, so he escaped into another fantasy. Because it has all of the bullet points. Chuck Norris is in it. He beats up Joe Piscopo. Julia Nixon is there. Winnie is there, falling in love with him because he's doing so well, and he saves the day. And then at the end, Chuck Norris is gone, like, when he snaps out of all of these fantasies. I know this is supposed to end on, like, a happy/mysterious note, like a la Bagger Vance, but this ends on, like, a creepy, like, when he turned around, right?
Right.
And Chuck Norris was gone, and they just cut back to Jonathan Brandis' head. They should have just started playing the Halloween theme song. And it's like, burn, burn. Because it's like, oh, man, the sequel of this movie is clearly where this kid builds an arsenal and just kills people, right?
The whole high school's going down.
I mean, like, this movie, you can watch it the way the movie wants you to watch it, or you can watch it as an adult and be like, this is disturbing.
Right, so say you got a kid, you want to watch it, you watch it with your kid, they'll watch it completely differently than you do.
Oh, yeah. So, with all of that said, let's go into our quick summary and our rating. The ratings are, you didn't hate it, it was a good party movie, it's a good hangover movie, or you hated it.
Huh. Well, I actually didn't hate this one. I thought it was a pretty decent movie for a hot dog movie. I mean, again, I thought it was going to be a Karate Kid, an emulator of the Karate Kid, but it just wasn't. It was just all over the place. Interesting that there were so many big names in the movie.
Well, I mean, no, I guess Beau Bridges is a big name, Mako, and Chuck Norris. I was just thinking Joe Piscopo, because I'm like, Joe Piscopo ain't shit.
I thought it was a pretty fun movie. I mean, and I think the major thing that I found interesting about it was at no point during the movie that I going, oh, is this over yet? Which usually happens with a lot of the movies that we watch.
Well, because of the way the movie is laid out and because of all of these fantasies. Well, I'm sorry, are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't hate it either. I really didn't hate it. This movie is incredibly entertaining.
It is.
Despite everything I said and all of the weird things happening in it, that's what makes it so entertaining, because you're like, I do not know where this is going. Like, in a movie like this, again, because of the way it's made and what this movie thinks it is, you think it's going to end a certain way, and then it has, like, a twist. You can take the twist as, was the strength inside Barry all along? Or you can take the twist as, oh my God, he finally lost it. Like, and it really does keep you on your toes. Like, it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, I don't know. And you know what? I was, at first I didn't really think about the creepy part until about like the third hallucination.
After the third one where he's killing people, and you're like, well, this is kind of violent.
Yeah, well, at first I was like, it's just a daydream, not too bad, I guess, maybe every once in a while people have hallucinations about killing people, who knows, but, and then and you're just like, what is going on with this movie? And it's a kid's movie.
And then when it's so... It's not. It would be one thing because there are movies out there where it's like little boy has an imaginary friend, and the imaginary friend helps him get his divorced parents together, and then he lives happily ever after and learns that he doesn't need an imaginary friend anymore because he sort of grew up. This is not that, though.
No.
This this kid is like, man, I wish Joe Piscopo was dead. What if I killed him?
This isn't Drop Dead Fred. Yeah.
Well, we both loved it, so I think we're both recommending it.
Yeah, I'd recommend it, definitely.
Yes, find this movie. I won't tell you how we watched it. We'll just say it's not hard to find.
Yeah, might be in a popular area.
Yeah, so just do one search and you'll find it. But yeah, check this movie out. Watch it. If anybody out there who listens to this watches this movie, tell us how you interpret it.
Yeah.
Tell us what you see. Do you see a happy-go-lucky, coming of age, feel good about yourself story, or do you see a prequel to Michael Myers?
Oh, boy.
Well, with all that said, if you want to send us any questions, comments, concerns, or hate mail, you can send us hate mail at moviehotdog@gmail.com. We have a Twitter at moviehotdog. You can like us on Facebook at This Movie Was a Hot Dog. If you get this on Podomatic or iTunes, please rate and review and subscribe, as it really helps the show, helps it get seen, high vis, gives us good coverage, and all that. Francis, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I got nothing.
All right, why don't you take us out?
Well, for Reverend Zach, this is Frank-cis saying this movie wasn't a hot dog.